Hello, and welcome to my universe. So, today, my references are a little bit different than usual. I've got the person I'm going to draw here. We're going to draw Katya Sable this time, still from Variance Project, because they are my current obsession. So we're just going to be drawing them for probably a little while. But I've got some different art around here, and that's largely because I had an idea for what I want to do with Katya. I had a little bit of a character design bug, so I wanted to draw her in an alternate outfit. And when I thought about what would be appropriate, there's... I will say that the most... pretty much anything that has any amount of, like, political intrigue or doing sneaky stuff to get control will pretty much always have some kind of masquerade ball. It seems to be, like, required. So I figured that I would draw her, you know, either going to one, preparing for one, or whatever, and I kind of got a vision for an idea for an outfit for that. And when I was thinking about it for her specifically, I actually could not decide if I wanted her to go in a dress or a suit. I think both suit her, so I'm going to draw both. This isn't going to be a gender swap, it's just going to be her. One is going to be in a dress, one is going to be in a suit. It's a female suit. And so, you know, why choose? And then the more I thought about it and how I wanted it to look, I remembered the art in this one gacha game I used to play. It's Path to Nowhere. I really, really like the art in this game. So, what I had in mind, design-wise, and kind of how I wanted it to look, kind of mirrored this. So I was like, you know what? Let's actually analyze the art that I like from this a lot. And so I just went through a bunch of pictures, I picked out some of my favorites, and so I figured that we'd take a look at them. Let's start down here, because I want to end on this one. Anyway. Oops. Okay. So I don't really play this game anymore. Like I said, I dropped every gacha game that I was playing because I just could not deal with time-limited stuff. But art in this game is still fantastic. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is so nice. So I figured I'd take the first part of the stream to let's just look at nice art, and I want to talk about why I think it's good, and maybe some of the compositional elements that I think are fantastic. Some of it is just silly taste things, but, you know, I'll still try to talk about things that stand out to me. This person is fantastic. The artist behind all these. I'm under the impression it's one person. But, I mean, man. I just like it a lot. It's like... Okay, so... when I do character designs, I really like stuff that shows restraint. This is part of why I don't really like the current MiHoYo meta. They do not show restraint. And I'm just like, meh. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible way to be. It's taste, right? This is part of what's been bothering me with art right now, is that it's all very taste-driven, so it's hard to know if I am doing well or not. And sometimes it drives me a little nuts. This is why I think artistry and insanity kind of go together. But I really do like very, very simple character designs, and if we look at her design, she is very, very few colors. We got mostly black here, which is a very muted color, and a little bit of white, also very muted, achromatic, not a lot of color in it, so they're very neutral colors, and you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. And what really brings it out to me is just these little spots of green. Even more so than the gold, like on her tummy here. The green. Like, look at that. That's so nice. So nice. And then when I look at the picture here, let's just do a little bit of basic composition. So we see, you see me use elements like this a lot because I like it. So as you might imagine, you got the big circular light behind her head. I mean, I literally just finished drawing a picture with that. And it kind of makes her feel a little bit divine. And I'm trying to think of how to describe this character. So she's basically a mortician who has the ability to talk to dead people. So it's kind of a weird spot for divinity, but I think it's kind of appropriate. And then we kind of got the flowers there. These are, you know, flowers common in morning and that kind of thing. And then we have this bright light, and everything else is very dark and a little bit on the gothic end. We even got some kind of creepier stuff with the thorns kind of going along down here, and we got the candles with green light instead of a normal flame color and that kind of thing. It's all very cool and very symmetrical, which symmetry also kind of enhances that sense of spirituality. It's hard to explain, but if you look at a lot of religious art, it does tend to be very symmetrical. Especially in East Asia, which, you know, it's a Chinese game, so of course they're going to kind of reflect East Asian aesthetic. It's a little bit less so with Christianity, but they still tend to be pretty symmetrical too. They just don't go as hard in it as the Asians. So, yeah, and then when you look at the colors here, we do get a little bit of yellow in these lights here, but for the most part, it's all a very muted colors, so the black and the white. So we got the white here, black in the curtains and the pillars. We get a little bit of brown here, but it's still pretty muted. You could probably call it gray. Then down here, still just all mostly black and white, and then you just get these little pops of green. So we got them in the leaves, we got it on this here and here. It's kind of funny because this, despite being green, still gives the impression of being white since it's such a weak gradient. But yeah, I got the little bits of green here and down here, kind of reflecting her character design, and I think it's really cool. I like it a lot. So I'll go do the next one now. So this lady has my favorite design in the game. I absolutely love her character design. It suits her really well in ways that's kind of hard to explain, but I'll do my best without having to go through her story too much. But she's a sculptor that likes to draw, that likes to make scary things, more or less. So she likes the weird, and you can kind of see it in the somewhat twisted-looking bodies on the unfinished slab she's sitting on there, over through here, and the almost Escher-like background going down. But the what made me really fall in love with her design is just, it's really kind of brings together the sensical and the nonsensical. Like, you can see her body through all this, and then we got this big thing around her feet. And it's greatly exaggerated in this picture, but even on her normal sprite and normal art, it's just a mermaid tail design. I'm not sure, but let me grab my tablet real quick. I prefer to just do the chatting part with it not on my lap because it's bulky. Okay, here we go. Mermaid tail silhouette. Just for people that are not aware of fashion terms. So, and you know, this is fine because I plan to do mermaid tail for the dress half of the Katya design I'm going for. So this is perfect. I get to explain it right now. I'll go do it in a margin, I guess. Let me turn this gray just because, you know, might as well. So we'll go. Okay, so mermaid tail silhouette. We got the lady's head, we got her neck and shoulders. I'll give her some arms for now. They're not really proportionate, but it will hug the lady's curves everywhere. This is great for people that have big hips, and then it'll kind of go down into her legs, and then somewhere around her knees, it'll fan out again. So it looks kind of like a mermaid tail, and then you might have little feet. So that kind of thing, where it goes down to the knees and then fans out. And, you know, hence the name, because it does make you look kind of like a mermaid. So that's how this works when it's not exaggerated. I think that's a good way to put it. And then in terms of like color scheme, this is like the exact opposite of the one that I just did, where we got that really, really bright blue dominating most of the design. Just this super, super bright blue. It's really nice. But because that bright blue is everywhere, you get a lot more muted colors elsewhere. Like, you do get a little bit of the black in here, but you see that her hair is also black. And we do get some other colors in it. And here, that almost looks like paint streaks. And I think that's really neat. Just trying to collect my thoughts a little bit. I've collected my thoughts on a lot of this already, but... Talking is hard. Anyway. But what really stood out to me here was just the combination of the parts that make a little bit of sense, and then throwing in something kind of more Eldritch adjacent. And for the record, I would describe Path to Nowhere's setting and aesthetic as cosmic horror with waifus. So there you go. It's appropriate here. So just going from the top to bottom there, we kind of get her hair, which for the longest time I could not tell if she had short hair or long hair. But it became obvious to me that these strands coming off here, and even to an extent this stuff coming off here, that are looking a little bit more like moth antennas, very much deliberately. You see she has butterfly motifs. That this was very clearly hair. But when you look at it like this, you see some of the shorter strands. And then you see this, which kind of melds together with the sculpture. And it just kind of rolls off, almost like paint or liquid. And that's why it wasn't immediately clear to me whether or not it was hair. So it's a little bit surreal, a little bit unreal in that way. And I think it's neat. And the weird colors used in it, so you can see there's some white, there's like all this purple. I kind of aid in that, just this look of running paint. And then, you know, we kind of get down here where we get the sleeves, which, once again, are they sleeves or are they just little strips of cloth that kind of hang off? And you do see that they do wrap around her arms like that, but they're not exactly closed. And you can see that they don't even cover her shoulders. It looks like they are connected to the dress, but barely. And then going down, we get this little bit on the chest here with, you know, eyeballs, because naturally, if you're going to do Eldritch anything, you gotta have vaguely eyeball motifs. It's required. And then for a while, the dress almost looks normal. We just got normal stuff, we got nice gems. And then you come through here, and suddenly it becomes almost like feathers. And that's super rad. But they have no particular depth to them or anything. They're just patterns in the dress, but yet they just look like feathers or scales or something. And then we come down, and then we get to the bottom, where it's really weird. we get some stuff that looks like stars in the night sky. And then we come out on another thing that almost looks like feathers. And it's like, what even is this? We get more of the eyeball motifs, and just... It's all very strange. And so I really love her design. And then just all of this is echoed everywhere within this, with the, you know, the sculpture and the people looking very uncomfortable, the Escher-like background with everything spinning down there. It's very cool. I like it. But for me, it's like her design was always the winner for me. They have yet to make one that I like better. Or I should say had yet, because I haven't really been keeping up with it. But by the time I left the game, yeah, she was still my favorite. In terms of design. So, back up here, we get another kind of minimalist one. This is one where the design spoke to me more than the background, although the background is quite lovely. Where we just get a lot of the muted colors. The black and the white, and then the blue. And the blue just... It just totally pops. Oh man, it's so good. I just absolutely love it, and certain parts of what makes the overall design good kind of rely on the character, you know, as is true with every design, but in this case I just kind of want to focus more on the art than the design itself. So you can see there's lots of fog, very reminiscent of London, and if you look at the overall composition here, I'll zoom out a little. The street is framing her, and we're using 1 point perspective here, so everything is kind of fading into the distance behind her, and it's just making everything kind of come at us. And so you can see she's walking towards us. So that back leg there is kind of fading into the fog, and this foot is coming right at us, and she's wielding some very ominous scissors. So, the fact that they're using 1 point perspective here, it just does more to bring her towards us, make it look like she's very much approaching. At least that's kind of how I feel about it. So, very nice composition. Very much perfect for what I think they were going for. The waifus in this game tend to be more the crazy variety. So, yeah, you'll see a lot of that. And I just really like that. Although for me, again, a lot of it is about the design. I just really, really like her design. That blue, man. That blue. With everything, and her sleeves. And the way that she's mostly white, but you get that black kind of going around it, I think is the best way I can describe it. So you have the black at the extremities. She's got black gloves, she's got black hair, she's got black boots, and then most everything else here is white. And then you got the blue in some of these key places. It's very nice. So, up here, this character was not released when I played, but I just decided to go look through the gallery and pick out ones that I just really liked, and yeah, this one's great. I like it a lot. Lots of compositional things I can talk about here. So, now, as for why I like this one, I just really like the light here. It just looks so gentle, and then, you know, she's got the reaching hand. I talked about that a little bit when I was drawing Leia at the end there, where just, like, inviting you in, and it just makes things really, really warm and friendly when you do that kind of thing. So, very, very warm picture. And like I said, I don't know anything about this character, so... But then we can zoom in a bit here, and... Oh man. I really like the way this guy draws faces, by the way, because they have the simple anime look, but at the same time, they just have a certain sense of softness and detail that kind of elevates it a little bit more. And I mean, you can tell that he probably drew a little bit more realism when he got started, because I mean, look at the hand. Like, there are muscle groups here. There are lines. This is way beyond what your average anime artist is going to be doing. So, you know, one of the many reasons I like the style there. I say that anatomy is not really appropriate for beginners. But you know, when you get good, it can elevate your art if it's a direction you want to go. I probably won't strongly go in that direction because, I don't know, I've been leaning more into minimizing things, but part of what I want to do for this drawing that I'm doing here is I want to go a little further in the other direction, just to see how I feel. We're going to do some science. So I figured I might as well talk about the art that is kind of inspiring a lot of what I want to try. But anyway, back to talking about the image here. I could very much gush about the design, because again, we're getting some of the more muted colors. Hers is a little bit warmer, a little bit less contrasty, because it's using brown instead of black. But it's still a lot of the same idea, where we get the white, we got the brown, and then we got these little pops of color in her eyes and around here. The fact that she's got the heterochromia with complementary colors, very interesting. Definitely will bring out the face, because we have those two very strong colors next to each other. In terms of color theory. So green, you know, is made up of yellow and blue, and red is the other primary, and that's what makes them complements. Is now put them together, you got all the colors, and so they contrast really, really heavily. So that's kind of what's going on there, and I think it's fantastic. But then it's like I looked at the rest of the image. So let's just look at a little bit of the composition of the rest of this image, because I like it. I like it a lot. So we have these green plants. They're all very dark, and they are just surrounding the picture in this little circle. So it's just drawing everything to be around her. And it's even, to a lesser extent, continuing over here with the plants here. You notice that the flowers there, considerably less detailed and considerably darker compared to the ones next to her, which are a lot more detailed. And then as they get further away, these ones are more in light, so there's virtually no contrast. And they start getting less and less detailed. So this one has like almost none. And then over here, these are like little blobs. And the same with the foliage. Everything just becomes blob as they get far away from her. So yeah, you got those things surrounding her, we got blob around her, but let's take a look at the things very near her, especially around her head. Look at the architecture on this. It's very detailed. So you can see a lot of all these little nooks and crannies and stuff. A little bit less so over here. And you know that's normal, because we want to look over here. And one of the ways that you can really bring out a focal point in drawing is just to make the area around it very, very detailed. So that's where you get the very detailed hair up here, for example, much more thoroughly rendered versus what's down here, where everything just kind of starts to fade, even though it's the same texture. And that kind of thing. It's the same idea as having the very detailed architecture over here versus less so as you get further away. And then the more extreme of that, we get down here in this bit of architecture, where it looks really, really detailed until you look at it closely and compare it directly with the stuff up here. Also, notice that the very detailed architecture here, with the angle that it's pointing towards, it points right at her. This little thing here surrounds her hand. Yeah, and stuff like that. I think I talked about that a little bit when I was doing the Leia drawing as well. So kind of similar ideas here. And then you get down here, where it looks really, really detailed when you zoom out. Like, down here, when I zoom out, it looks almost as detailed as what's up here from a distance. But the contrast is much lower, and when you actually look at it, there's virtually no detail here. We get kind of little hints of stuff happening, just enough to make it resemble the architecture it's supposed to be imitating. And then that's pretty much it. We don't get very much light or anything, and all of this, like, this isn't light. These are petals. Like, these are just petals floating around with a motion blur. And it's all very, very simple. Very low contrast. And up here, let's compare some colors. So this is like one of the darkest points. And then I think one of the lightest points on this structure is like right there. Let me make sure I'm getting a good color here. This is probably the lightest one. So look at that difference up here. I'll go draw it on my canvas real quick. Grab my pen here. All right. So let's compare. So pretty high. Versus down here, if I were to take the darkest point. Hello there, Alkavi. Yeah, right now, I'm just doing a little bit of analysis on art that I find interesting. So, it's kind of what's inspiring this particular thing I'm trying. So here we get the darkest point. And I'd say the lightest points are probably up here. But for the most part, I want to keep it a little bit more local. So, you know, maybe we should do here, and then I'd say the lightest point on this part. I'm probably over here. So this is the absolute lightest. And you can see they're much closer together than these two from the more detailed area. So, there we go. Compositional things. All right. Two more. I tried to make them all a little bit different, but sometimes I just like to gush about art. I think it's pretty too. All right. So we got this one. And oh man. This outfit just absolutely oozes style. I love it. Oh man, it is fantastic. Look at all the neat architecture we got on the stairs here and up in the windows, and it is lovely. But what really called out to me in this one was we got this bright, I'll call it a moon because that's kind of what it is. We got the bright moon here right next to her face. And I just love stuff like that. And it just makes the lighting in it absolutely glowing. I mean, look at her face. Versus, let me zoom out a little. I had to kind of enlarge the pictures a bit. Yeah, very much. So we kind of got these bright lights on her face versus the kind of darker area on her back here. And it's, you know, it just keeps getting darker as we go into the dress because the dress is literally black. And so it just makes her look, you know, very, very shiny. I love my extreme lighting. This one isn't that extreme. But it's still pretty bright. It's still pretty glowy. And we got the big lights from the lights here, just putting some nice glow on the wall and putting some really nice contrast versus over here and back here, for example. Like over back here, real dark. And then if we look at the overall image again, where we kind of got everything kind of circling around. Even the stairs, which probably don't look like they're circling, but let's follow them real quick. Let's see where our eyes go. We walk up the stairs, we kind of go around here, then whoop, round and round. And we kind of got the flowers here, just doing a little bit more of the round frame. I mean, right here probably looks like a straight line. But when you're following the flowers, you don't go that way. You go to the ones here first, because they're closer. And then you go all around again. So, and you notice when you follow this, you immediately get to a detailed part of the stairs. It's like this part of the stair, not detailed. It doesn't have the wild railing. Over here, no, it's quite simple. I mean, you barely even see it. This part doesn't even fully connect. It's just a little bit of circles. But here it's a whole thing. So you can continue that circle, and it brings you right back to her. It just goes around. So, you know, all very interesting, and it's just cradling that light. So this entire area that it's all looping around, all very much well lit, you can see. So, doing neat things. All right, and then we get into the last one. This will be the last one that I have looking at here, and then I'm gonna kind of talk about how I'm gonna, you know, steal this artist's ideas, more or less. And okay, what made me just immediately fall in love with this picture was her hair. Look at that hair. This is gorgeous. And just that thin layer of light, even on the side that's not quite as well lit compared to, you know, this. Just so shiny. She is very much glowing, and then you can kind of see that same glow on half of her face, but everything else is very much backlit. And backlighting can be kind of hard because you're making the face and the character dark, and the areas that tend to stand out are areas of high contrast and areas in light. Because people like shiny things, more or less. But when you look at what the light of her hair is doing, look how dark her dress is compared to the light of her hair. We get the contrast here. And her skin is pretty light, but then you get this black necklace right there, kind of framing her head again. So it all just kind of works out. And so this is one where the first thing I looked at wasn't really her face, it was this bit of hair. But you can see that the shape of the hair still brings you up toward the face. Because it's triangular. Triangles are fantastic. They do great things. And where the rest of the light ends up going, so we get a pretty strong point of contrast between the window and her head. And then everything else is just very, very muted. So even though there's tons of little details here, we got the pipe back here, it doesn't really call attention to itself. It's all very simple. And we got some of the details in the wall there, and we got all these plants. But the colors don't stand out very much. It's all fairly low contrast. But it just kind of brings everything together, and would you look at this? Where are the plants pointing? Whoop. All the way back to the character. Same here. They just point back to her. And so it just keeps your eyes looping around. But mostly, I just really like her hair. I'm easy to please. So, there we go. There's a little bit of compositional analysis. So, now I want to talk a little bit about some of the specifics of the style of this person. So, and some of the things I intend to steal. Like the composition is a big thing. I'm probably going to go light on composition for this, though, because I mostly want to focus on the design that I want to make here. So I'm going to do everything I can to kind of bring out, you know, what she's wearing when I go and draw her in the alternate outfit in my brain right now. So, how do I want to do some stuff with the outfit? So now we're going to focus on how the characters are drawn. So here, I talked a little bit about how I liked her design and, you know, these nice little green pops. Well, wouldn't you happen to know it? This character has black and white hair. The character I'm going to draw has black and white hair. Very convenient, is it not? So, I'm probably going to take a little bit of ideas from how colors are used in this girl and this girl. So, and I guess to an extent, This one. But mostly the other two. Where I talked about it while going through here, and, you know, you can call it destiny. But you can also just call it me thinking about things, because I think too hard about art. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it to everyone. Incidentally, part of the reason that I'm doing this is because I've said many times that I think people should analyze art they like and try to understand why they like it. And that's basically what I'm doing here. I am going through and I'm analyzing it. I probably go into more weird stuff than a lot of people. No, I shouldn't say a lot of people. I should say a lot of beginners. Because I don't think beginners necessarily notice these things yet. But you can notice some basic things, like, this window that's going around her is really cool. And the green really pops in this design. It's really obvious. And that kind of thing. So I do think it's possible for beginners here, but I'm just doing it with what's coming out to me and why I end up liking these things. So this is how I analyze art for the people that are curious about how I do it whenever I talk about it. I might even clip this and, like, separate it out. Anyway, let's go back to kind of talking about how it's all drawn here. So we got here the nice little pops of green, but what kind of interests me, actually, is the use of white here. So if we look at our lower body, everything until we get to these things is totally black. With, you know, the green. But it's all very dark. And then we get into her upper half here. And this is when we really start seeing the white. It's carried down by these things going over her shoulders, but you can see even here, they're much darker than the white up here. Like, if I color pick, I'll even pick one of the darker bits up here. Let's go look at the difference. If I look at this with no context, I would call this black. So, it's basically black. It's white, it is carrying the white down to the lower body, but let's be real, it's basically black. This, with no further context, absolutely black. So, the white is basically in her upper body only. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure what it means. But I thought it was interesting. And I talked about it a little bit with this character too. Where she was a little bit different. She's still got the black, white, and then one really strong color. But with her, the black is surrounding her. It is not just in her black in her lower body with a bit of white in the upper body. No, we've got black gloves. We got black hair. We got black boots. So for her, it's like a circle. With we got the white here in the middle with some nice blue here, but you can even see her lower legs still very much drawn black, even if it's blue, and we can still recognize it as blue. This one doesn't do that kind of thing as strong. I did talk about that a little. And then we got another one here of the lower body being black and the upper body being white, with just, you know, that little bit of black here to contrast things a little bit more. But she doesn't really have a color. She does have little bits of blue. So, like, that's very clearly blue. But the interesting thing is that so is this. Oh. So she doesn't quite get the color. She is very, very muted. I think that's more of a character thing, like she's extremely depressed. So I think they just didn't put the strong colors in there, but that's why I said this one to a lesser extent, because this one is much more achromatic, but you still got the little bit of blue in here. You got a little here, a little bit on the ribbon on her wrist. So I think that's kind of interesting, and just different ways that you can structure the color contrast. So they went very top heavy on her, whereas she is a little bit more, I don't know. It's circular. And then... True. Look, they knew what they were doing. And I know what they were doing. So, it's fine. That's kind of a lot of what I wanted to talk about in design. Like, I could talk about different fashion silhouettes and stuff, but admittedly, the other thing that drew me a lot to this particular art style, besides just, you know, the really nice compositions, the really nice designs and whatnot, was just also kind of how they were shaded and put together in that regard. I like the way I talked about it a lot with this lady's face, but I like the way this person shades things. That actually, even before then, no, there's one more thing I want to talk about. This person's proportions. I totally forgot. So this artist's proportions. When it comes to anime, I guess it's a little bit less so with Katya, because she has really long legs. But look at the face here. So we have the eyes here. And the top of her head, it's a little hard to see under the hat, but it's probably about here. So the eyes are more than halfway down the face. And now I can't highlight myself, I don't think. Can I? Well, you can kind of see it. I'll kind of over here. But if you look at where my eyes are placed versus the top of my head, mine are a little bit less than halfway down. Whereas, you know, hers are a little bit more. And if you look at the proportions on my nose, mine is a little bit lower than most anime noses relative to the top of relative to where my eyes are. Whereas you can see her nose, well, you can barely see it. It's right about here. I wish I could find a higher quality reference image, but this is what I got, unfortunately. But it's right about here. So it's really far away from her mouth and really close to her eyes. And that's extremely normal for anime girls. And then we got the mouth here, where the chin is a little bit big relative to a human. Maybe not that big, but a little bit. A little bit less so with her, because she's supposed to look a little bit more mature. So her chin isn't quite as big. Now, let's go back to this lady. So we got her eyes here. And the top of her head, she has hair vents. So, yeah. Indeed. I like it a lot too. In fact, I ended up kind of liking it enough that one of my art habits is that I make the face a little bit longer than I should sometimes. It's extremely common for me. I think that might also be why I was drawn to this particular artist. Because, you know, he draws faces a little bit more like I do. So, top of the head about here. Eyes, about halfway down. Maybe slightly more. His characters do still have kind of big foreheads. So then we got the nose here, where it's a bit closer to the mouth. And we got the chin here. And this is extremely common just everywhere for this person. So here, this one's forehead's a bit smaller. She's just got very poofy hair. This guy likes poofy hair. I like his poofy hair. I think it's fantastic. But we got that, and you notice that she even has lips. Did this one? Yes, she did too. So we got the lips and we got the eyeshadow, and I remember a commentary on the designs in this game was they just lined up a bunch of characters' eyes, and you could immediately tell which one was which, just based on how the eye was drawn in terms of makeup, shape, and just detailing in the eyes. And it was pretty cool. So that's one thing I kind of appreciate. And, you know, let's just compare the shape of the head for these two girls. So we got her face is very round, And her face, well, still quite round. She's got little, it's a little straighter through the cheeks here, and a little bit chubbier along the jawline there. Her jawline is much more angular. And if I just go to another one over here, her face is very thin. Much thinner than the other two, so she's got, like, no facial chub. Over here, this character is much younger, so... But what's interesting to me is that she doesn't have the super chubby cheeks of young characters, and this is Path to Nowhere. I don't really... I don't play it anymore. I dropped everything with time-limited events at this point, because I just cannot deal with it psychologically. But I still love the art in this game. It is beautiful. So yeah, you can see, even hers is a little bit different. And that's just one thing I appreciate, because I don't think a lot of anime characters' faces look very, very similar. Especially from one artist drawing different characters. They might have the same face going across that. I am actually of the camp where I don't think this is a problem. I think it's totally fine. I don't think it matters. Nonetheless, I do like it when artists are able to differentiate between their characters on face alone. And even then, it's like, I'm pretty sure that if I looked through 20 or so characters, I'd probably find maybe 5 or 6 different faces, but nonetheless, I appreciate the effort. I think it's nice, and some of it's in jaw shape, some of it's in mouth, most of it is in the eyes. The eyes do cover most of it, which is true of most anime characters, which is why when you draw an anime girl, pay attention to the shape of the eyes and the shape of the hair, because that's where most of the detail is. And you'll have better luck making it look more like the character you're trying to draw. Okay, and now we're gonna get into kind of some nitty-gritty on things I just happen to like and kind of want to try to steal a little bit. So the way the face is drawn, it's still very anime. It's still very flat. It's not very realistic. It maybe feels a little bit more realistic than the average anime because there's a bit more detail around the eyes and they actually have noses and lips. But I'd say in general, it's still highly simplified. Extremely simplified. And I just like the way it's handled. So I can see, for example, the red on the cheeks is used as a little bit of gradation to kind of lift them up a little and make them look a little chubbier, a little puffier. And there's also just the slightest bit of shadow on the chin. So if I were to compare what's here versus what's here, you can see they're not the same color. There's just a little bit of shadow. And when I look at the side, well, let's look at one with a little bit more extreme lighting here. Let's see. I don't think I want to go as hard as the lighting on this one. That one's a little bit much. What about you? Yeah, you should work. So we got a little bit of color there and a little bit color there. And, oh, they are actually a lot closer than I thought they'd be. I was gonna say, one side tends to be a little bit lighter than the other. And I thought that kind of natural gradation looked nice. But they're actually a little closer than I thought they were. I do not have perfect color perception. What about over here? Are you about the same there? Yeah, you're probably pretty close. Although I still see the little bit of shadow from the nose there, kind of adding a little bit. Yeah, it looks like they are quite close. Okay. I see. So the difference is just from the nose shadow. Fascinating. See, this is why you analyze things. This is why you actually do the color picking. Sometimes I just do super basic analysis where I just look at the picture. I don't necessarily color pick or anything. I just say, okay, I like this kind of glowing. I like this kind of thing. I am easily impressed by lighting. Very easily impressed by lighting. And that just tells me, hey, go do nice lighting. You like it. Go do it. Okay. More things I want to steal. Let's see. And part of the reason that I picked this artist style was because I looked at the clothes and I was like, I want that. I like the colors and just the level of detail here. And one thing I had a hard time with a really long time ago was I would draw a character and... Why is my pen not... Okay, there it goes. I would start drawing a character, and then I would draw the body, and I would look at her clothes, and I'm just like, the clothes are so much more detailed than the faces, and this disconnect bothers me. But here, if we look at the clothes and just all the nice little folds and colors in it, I mean, look at all that. It is so nice. Look at these frills. They are just... I want it. So I'm going to be studying this quite heavily when I go in and draw the clothes. And I mean, look at the hand. I was talking about this when I was going through it before, but like, this is significantly more realistic than your average anime hand. You're paying a lot more attention to the anatomy here, because we got the muscle group on this side of the hand, we got the big thing around the thumb, that little squishy muscle there. And we even got little spots, you know, the little folds in your fingers there. Yes. The frills are lovely. But yeah, we got details in where the fingers would fold on themselves, and the various bones in the fingers, and that's crazy. And yet, this is not exactly in the face. The face is still very simple. We got the nose, like you can see it. It's much smaller than a realistic nose would be. And much simpler. The cheeks just kind of fade into here. Much simpler than what you'd see on a normal human cheek. And the eyes, while they do have more detail, it's nothing on par with this. And yet, I don't feel the disconnect between the level of detail between the clothes and some of the hair here and all that, and the face that I did in some of my old art. And I'm kind of curious as to why. I've been thinking about it a lot, but I have not found an answer yet. So I'm just gonna kind of use it as a template for trying some things on this picture that I plan on doing. But for now, let's go gush over some of the other clothes here, of the numerous layers here. And one thing that I particularly like about this, like this dress, is kind of nonsense. It's not it's kind of nonsense, and yet you can kind of see how it's put together. It's just very weird. But you can see that this black thing and this kind of translucent thing, these are separate layers. And they all kind of come up and around here. And then we got this part that's shorter there. And this is just a big train. So if you were to separate this out and pull it apart, I'll just do something quick and black here. If we were to pull this dress apart, we'd get something like this. So this is kind of where it connects into her waist there. And we got this shorter part. That would be this guy out here. It's a shorter part. It kind of does something like that. And then it eventually kind of rolls back into here, into a really narrow train. So this kind of shape. So even though it's really weird, you can make out how all of these layers actually connect to each other if you stare at it long enough. This is not necessarily the case with a lot of anime designs, where they're just kind of drawn without much thought for how something like this could actually exist. But I can see how it's all put together. And I mean, it's very much fantasy. This kind of sleeve would be kind of hard to pull off. And this kind of thing going over her chest here wouldn't really work in real life. It's fine for it to be a little bit fantasy, of course. You can still have anime clothes. But I do like that the artist does make it very clear on how it's all put together. No, I have another. I don't know. I think it's actually pretty evident in most of the designs. Like, maybe these shoulder pads are a little bit exaggerated, but you can still see where her arms fit through her sleeves, and that she kind of has this jacket going over a skirt here. So that this is based on the amount of cleavage here. This is probably a skirt and not a full dress and that kind of thing. So that is one element that I very much appreciate. I really like it when artists actually think about how someone would put this on. And even if they don't necessarily follow all the rules of reality when it comes to how it would flow and anything like that, you know, that's fine. Totally fine. But you can still kind of see how it's all put together. And I kind of dig that. So that's going to be something that I pay attention to. But I just think a lot of what I like in a lot of the drawings on the clothes here, I keep getting distracted by so many things because there's just so much to like about the art in this game. It's why I still think about it, even though I'm not actively playing it anymore. But one thing that I just really do like about this, of course, it's okay. It looks nice, and that's what matters. That's the joy of drawing things. Yes. But that's the joy of drawing things. You get to make it look the way you want without having to worry about reality. And you don't have to worry about a dress weighing 50 pounds. You get to draw it however you want. And it's wonderful. It's the joy of 2D. Okay. So, trying to describe what I like about the shading here. I've thought about it a lot, and it's one of those things that's just really hard to do. Really hard to describe. But it's just... it's not soft, per se. Let me finish my thought. Because otherwise I'm never gonna finish it. It's, but I mean, you can see that this edge here is actually pretty hard. It's maybe not as hard as the ones on the frills, but this is quite a hard edge. But then you get some of the stuff over here, and it just fades to nothing. And the edge control is just really nice. And then when I look at the stuff over here, it is much darker than things over here. So there's lots of nice little gradients. And yeah, and even here. So we get this really hard edge here. But then we have this here, which is much softer. And I'm pretty sure that some of this I'm seeing is just JPEG artifacts. Some of it I can tell is stylistic. Like, you see some of it there, but yeah. So that kind of edge control I think is really nice, and I'd like to pay attention to some of that here. A lot of the cell-shaded style that I've been experimenting with lately. It's most of what I've been drawing on stream. But strictly speaking, that was actually a fairly recent development. And now I kind of want to go back to looking at some softer stuff again, because I really do like a lot of this, and I don't know which direction I want to go. It may just be that I don't choose, and I just do both depending on what I want to draw. But, you know, being able to do more things is always nice. Okay, I have said the thing. Now then, talking about wizards. Yes. Yes, just a good old impossible clothes there. And you see it in the anime girls too, where, you know, they're nice and weak and frail, but then they have hair like this, where it's got to weigh like a good half their body weight. Because there's just so dang much of it. But you know, it's okay. We don't have to care about what's real. We can care about what's perceived. And, just how we feel about it. And what it feels right, and what looks nice. The joy of 2D. Yep. Man, yeah, if that dress got wet, I'm pretty sure I'd fall down. Would not be able to lift my feet. But you know, it's okay. Because it's not real. And with that, I think I'm ready to start drawing. I'll go ahead and keep that, because I do want to use this silhouette for part of the drawing here. So, I could talk about some of my ideas with here yet, but considering that they're all just gonna be in my head, it's like, I don't see the point. Actually, you know what? No, I want you up here. Okay. It's okay. It'll come out later. And I'm just gonna start drawing now. And I'll talk about some of my ideas beforehand. So, Katya Sable. For those not familiar with her, she is very much of the edgy variety of YouTuber. So, you know, kind of Pipkin Pippa adjacent. But their styles and taste are a bit different. And her character within the lore of the company and the world that I feel like they're trying to create and whatnot is she owns a casino and is that's thicker than I want anyway. So she owns a casino and is basically acts as an informant. So, you know, she's all about getting information places, trying to do sabotage related things. Very much intrigue heavy. She is. I agree. And when I think about characters like that, I'm just like, yeah, if you're gonna do political intrigue, you gotta have the Masquerade ball going on. That's just like a requirement. I think I want it to be bigger than that. I'm even gonna do this on a new layer for a moment. That is just like something you do when it comes to political intrigue. So I wanted to design an outfit for that. That's way too much. I wanted to design an outfit for that, so we're gonna have her get ready for your big ol' intrigue ball. And I couldn't decide if I wanted her to be wearing a dress or a suit. I think both suit her very well, so I decided I'm gonna do both. And I'm preparing the screen for that. So I'm just gonna have it divided up like this. And I'm not gonna like draw her body twice or anything. I'm basically going to use the same background for both. They're gonna be mirrored, and I'm gonna keep it fairly simple in that regard. Are you still centered? Okay, cool. I didn't think you would be. Are you sure? Are you sure you're centered? Okay, you're sure. Okay. So, yes, I'm gonna do one in a suit and one in a dress. No gender swap or anything. Just literally, you know, lady in a suit. So I do think that both suit her very nicely. So, yeah, I'm just gonna duplicate the background and we're gonna go from there. For the dress end, that's the one that I have more ideas. I'm going to be doing a lot of referencing of, like, Black Butler and the stuff to get the super frilly Victorian variety of suit, but I haven't really gotten around to that. So I'll be starting on this side because I have more ideas. And I mentioned that I wanted this kind of silhouette with the nice little mermaid tail coming out of it because I think it's very nice. And it's going to be black and red mostly. I'll probably put in some white there. But, you know, black and red is the edgiest combination, so naturally I had to do that. And it's... I'm thinking of how to describe this. So with this kind of silhouette, it does very much need to be fairly tight. But I'm not going to have it show very much skin. I'm even planning on going like full turtleneck here. Just because that seems more her style. In fact, it's exactly why I thought of this art style when I thought of it. Of not like super overtly sexy. I mean, they get that sometimes with some of the cleavage windows that they got here. But for the most part, like, I think that this is really, really pretty. And yet she's showing, like, virtually no skin. Kind of the same with this one. So, more of the kind of, subtly sexy there. That seems more like her brand of it. I don't know why there's stuff out there, but that's fine. So I'll go ahead and keep that. For my general silhouette idea. I actually do have a general silhouette idea for these suits, so I guess I can draw that here. So we have a head and a shoulder, and we'll do some arms. It's gonna have like really poofy sleeves with some nice little lace bits coming out. And more square. Just because I feel like if you're gonna do a somewhat masculine style, you should embrace the somewhat masculine aesthetic. So I wanted her to be a little bit more square. And big part coming out here. So big kind of triangular jacket and legs. Something like that. It's a little hard to describe. Okay. So there we go. I got some doodling. I'll go ahead and put things under here. So I'm only going to draw the background once. And I'm gonna go put it into a background group. And I already know that I want to have some fancy schmancy windows. So it's gonna be so fancy. Exactly. Exactly. Alright, so we're gonna have some of the fancy windows. But I mean, if we're going Masquerade Ball here, you gotta have a degree of being very pretty. You don't go to a ball looking like a hobo. Like, that's just rude. And while I wouldn't be put being rude past her, it's the wrong kind of rude. It's the kind of rude that gets you zero social capital. And that's just not her style, so... There we go. We're gonna do this kind of window. And it's gonna be pretty big, maybe not quite that big. But it's gonna be somewhere in this range. And I want it to be going down to about her waist. So we're gonna be going down, having... let's just figure out the composition here. So, body. Alright. So we're gonna have her head probably start right about here. And she's gonna be looking back over her shoulder at us. So I kind of want to get that kind of thing going here. I'm gonna, draw my body triangles because this is kind of how I see bodies. And okay, I have her drawn a little bit small here, but I'll just keep going. Oh, yes. There would be so much gossip, and it'd be the bad type of gossip. No one would ever want to do business again. Nobody wants to do business with somebody that commits such a grievous social faux pas. So, yes. Okay. So we're just gonna go with this kind of thing. Just a very kind of casual pose there. One hand just kind of at the side, maybe slightly on her hip. Not like a sassy hip bit, but just kind of relaxed. This one's not good. This arm's not gonna do anything special. And then I want this one kind of coming out and holding the mask. So I'll just draw a box for now. That's fine. Okay, let's get this sized right because I don't want it to actually go all the way down to her feet. I actually don't. Even though I'm doing a character design, I don't think I wanted to do that. Maybe I'll change my mind. But for now, I'm going to design the composition, assuming I'm not going to do that. Although, I don't know, with the way things are going, maybe it makes more sense for it to have the feet. Okay. Well, it's okay. This is why I do the doodling first. Because I gotta figure out what I'm going for here, and I don't like how centered she is for the moment. She needs to be kind of a little bit off to the side here. The window I do want to be centered, though. So, you know what? Let's do that. Okay, so that says it should be about there. I don't mind her arm being a little bit outside, but her head should be firmly inside the window. That is one thing I know for sure. Let me turn on my symmetry again. I'm pretty sure I don't have the symmetry perfectly centered. But that's fine. That's a little too wide, I think. So yeah, now we're getting into the stage where I am just figuring everything out. This is why starting a new picture is always very exciting to me. Because that's when I have the most to say, the most to talk about, and where the most stuff is happening. But I'm planning on going for a very simple composition here, just a nice bright light at the back, character here, and then, some decorations kind of surrounding things. And I'll probably put in some plants and... I mean, we've already established how I feel about the cool plants pointing towards things. So you can bet that I'm going to be stealing some of that, because that's a good idea. And I don't know what kind of other things here. I'm probably just going to go look up some crazy noble house pictures and all the ridiculous kind of decorations they do. But, yeah, something like that. That's basically what I want. Which part do I want to design first? I think I want to get a better idea of the background here, so... let's go get some plants. Ah, man. I think my throat hasn't fully recovered from yesterday. I played Copy Kitty yesterday, and that game just makes me want to shout, I swear. Alright, Let's see, a Victorian mansion. That's what I want. I can tell that she greatly enjoys Victorian aesthetics, so let's get in there. Yes, interior. I want the interior, not the exterior. So I'm just going on Google Images and seeing the kinds of things that exist in there. Show me something with nice windows and the kinds of things that you use to decorate rooms with nice windows. Okay, so we're getting a fair amount of columns and the like. I'm also thinking of the kind of bars and general... Is this the correct term? The molding? So the window frame that goes around it, what the windowsill is going to look like and some of that stuff. The window is very important, so it's going to get a lot of extra details. Okay, I kind of dig that. I was planning on making it pointy because she has very pointy aesthetics. Yeah, I think I still can. Okay. So for that, I think I'm going to go something like this. I'm going to use... I don't know what to call it other than window bars, so I'll do that. I'm sure there's a technical term, but I don't know what it is. But I want something a little bit less dark than black. So everything is going to be very messy at this stage, and that's fine. And I'm not going to go for high perspective or anything. I just want to keep things very simple. Yeah, I think probably just flat straight across is the way to go here. So like that, and then we can do some fancy stuff up here. We're gonna make it nice and fancy. I'm not gonna design the full pattern here, but I just want to make it clear to me, or more accurately everyone watching here, that this is a super duper fancy. See, this is what we call elegance. So, there we go. Get some going around the edge here. Alright, so something like that. Do I like her head being in the fancy part? Actually, yes. Based on what I learned from this one, this actually makes a lot of sense, because the big observation that I made here was, while this down here looks about as detailed as this up here, if you actually zoom in and look at it, up here, the area by her head is way more detailed than the area by her feet. Like, it's a night and day difference. This has, like, none of the details. It's just, like, the bare minimum to make the architecture clear. Whereas this has, like, all the stuff. I mean, look at the rose here and all that. So yes, I do think it makes sense for me to have her head near the fancy part. So we're gonna do that. And I think for now, although it does make the composition a little bit stiffer, I'm gonna keep it straight up and down. We'll see if I change my mind and make it a little bit more of a Dutch angle later. I might, because it would also make it easier for me to include more of her lower body without messing things up. I should put this into its own group too. Okay. So I'll put it into a group so that this way I can easily do a transformation and, you know, try out this angle later. So we'll see if that's what I want. I kind of don't mind the composition being a little bit stiffer than usual, though, so I might just go with this. But, okay, for now, we go with that until I decide everything else. Okay. I am gonna up the contrast on this a little. This is all placeholder color still. I'm not too bothered by the colors being wrong here. I'm gonna replace them with whatever colors I want to use later. Although, admittedly, the reason I've been starting to draw the bodies just in solid black is because I fear YouTube. And I just fear that if I draw them in skin tone, that YouTube's gonna get mad. So, unironically, I hate it. So, you know, it'll just be black. Until I'm ready to draw close on it. So I think I'm gonna go for something like this. We're gonna, I don't know, get little windowy decorations here. And it's all gonna be very fancy. And there's gonna be like some kind of fancy smanchy pattern in this. And it'll all be very nice. I'll probably steal some fanciness from this because this is very fancy and I like it. But I just want something fancy happening here. Okay, and then I want these to be like structured columns. So I'll kind of get that impression. Columns kind of have that kind of texture to it, and that's a very nice shorthand for a quick sketch. And then underneath here, we'll have just a little bit of a windowsill coming out. And that's where the column will attach. And we'll make the windowsill very fancy too. I don't know what kind of fancy the windowsill's gonna have, but it'll be fancy. That's what matters here. Okay, and in the background, I had the plant slayer. I plan to detail that eventually, but for now, I'm gonna draw it over here real quick, but I'm gonna... actually, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do anything yet. There's a common kind of wallpaper that I see within these buildings of just the super opulent, overly ornate kind of thing. And while I do see some that's more tasteful, do we really want to be tasteful here? I mean, maybe. I do have a couple of options of the patterns that I see most commonly. Is going to be where you have like thick paneling. So something like this, and then you'll have a pattern on it. I'll draw it on this side to kind of explore the idea, since I'm just kind of derping around here. And then you'll have a fancy pattern doing fancy things around here, and it's all very, very fancy and way cleaner than what I'm doing now. But that's okay. This is where we start. And then a little bit, maybe less so at the bottom, but still nonetheless fancy stuff. And then there's it's like carved into the wall. So this is one option that I think is interesting. And the other one is just an all-around repeated pattern. So we'd get stuff like this, where it just goes all the way across. So, you know, but much fancier. I think I want this option. I think I want to do this one. I had to think about it for a second. I could go either way still. I guess I don't really have to decide now, but there's going to be something like one of those. How does it look around the windows anyway? Oh, well, this particular example has floor windows, so I wouldn't know. It's a tough choice. Okay. If this is gonna be me kind of exploring things I like, I think I kind of prefer the simpler version. So I'll do the simpler version for now. Okay. This is how I make decisions early on, but nothing is set in stone at this point. everything is a complete mess. And it's okay. It's how it should be. As far as I'm concerned, if the sketch isn't a complete mess, you're trying too hard. And probably taking too much time too, actually. Sketches are good when they are fast and loose. Okay, and I think that being empty space is fine. There's probably going to be like tables or something there, so odds are a lot of what I put down here is going to be covered up. So it's fine, but it already looks significantly more fancy, so I dig it. Let's see. What else? What else do I want to start putting there? Yeah, like I said, I think some kind of end table or something would look really nice. So I drew more wall pattern there. Let's maybe get kind of a vaguely brown, dark brown table in here. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm going for here. Let's see, I think this is probably too angled, so I'm gonna move it back up. But I do like the idea of something like this being here, so let's make it a little flatter so it kind of sits here properly. I'll give it some depth there. I'll go ahead and pick a rudimentary shadow color. That's good. Just so this way I can tell kind of that this is for a 3D effect and not the actual shape of the table. I think it should be larger, like there should be a big cabinet, actually. Thinking about it, I think this kind of thing is more normal for this time period. And then there'll be like doors or something. And I'm just kind of scanning, and maybe there'll be some kind of objects inside of here, and it'll be a shelf. Probably glass with some nice handles on it. That kind of thing. And then here, you know, maybe we'll have candles or something. Yeah, candle sounds nice. I'll do it in black for now. Okay. So I have a particular thought with the candle here. We're gonna make it look a little ominous. Gonna be big with very large arms. A nice, lovely candelabra here. And there'll be some candles inside. And then there'll be maybe a little one out on either side here. Just to keep things nice and symmetrical. And then I don't know quite what color I want them to be, but I do like the idea of there just being some little potted plants next to here. Something like that. And we'll just have some nice potted plants kind of going that way. Probably both sides. Symmetry, very stylish, so there we go. And I like the idea of there being some kind of going into the window as well. I'm not sure what kind of plant this is. I don't think it matters that much. At least not at this stage. But I kind of want something like this happening. Oh, let's try that selection again. That one is not going to be good. I want it a little bit more like that. No, I don't like the plants up there, actually. I'll put something else up there. I do like the plants down here, though. I think those look pretty good. And I still don't know what color I want them to be, so I'm just going to leave them black. Maybe we can have some thorny vines running up this or something. Not there. This column. And we'll get some, like, roses or something. I think that suits her pretty well. I'm assuming this isn't her house. I don't think she seems like the type to throw parties at her house. Maybe occasionally. But, nonetheless, I think it's important to suit her general aesthetic. But I dig that. I think that looks pretty cool. And we got some nice flowers there, and do I feel like I need anything else for background? Like there's gonna be some more decorations than that. I'll probably put various things related to her, but I'm not quite sure what yet. So I don't think I need to know. I think this is basically the composition I want. So now I have a couple of choices. I can go in and start worrying about the character, or I can start playing with like Dutch angles and the like. So I think I'm gonna play with Dutch angles and the like. But no, even just what I'm doing here, I think I actually kind of like it. Stable, vertical, controlled. I think that suits her. And I don't think the composition looks bad, just being very simple like this. It's like even when I look at things here, this guy had a bit more space than I do. But you can see that even she's fairly straight. We get a little curve in the train here. And for the most part, he does keep things at angles. She's pretty straight. She's leaning a little bit, but the overall angle here is pretty straight. And I do know, yeah, this one is very stable. So you kind of have the straight down here. Basically, what I'm thinking about right now, if I were to go into a little bit more detail there, I don't want it to be boring. I don't want the picture to look boring. And one thing that can make things feel a little bit stiff is having everything be too straight. So you can see right now, we have this part straight going across, we have the window straight up and down, straight across, and these things straight up and down. So I was a little bit worried about that. I think as long as I introduce a little bit of body movement into her, a little bit's already implied in the way I have the head, I think it'll be okay though. So I think I'm going to keep going with it just like this. I think that this is fine so far. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. Tried to talk myself into it, I swear. But no, I do think that this will be okay. If I were to adjust it a little bit, I will maybe have her look a little bit more arrogant. And I'm gonna tilt her, oops, wrong layer. Gonna tilt her back a little. Just, something like that. So a little bit more of a back arch, but that's... I think that should be fine. We'll see how I feel about it as I get a little bit further. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and start focusing on the character. So, I've already got all the reference sheet and colors and stuff. It looks like they don't actually have her skin toned reference because I'm looking here and this is clearly hat related things. The gold and, well, I say hat related things, clothes related things. And the gold trim, and then the green part, so like the part coming here, the leaves. Is this the flower? Or is this her hair? Okay, so this is her eyes. No, this is her hair. I'm not sure what this color is then. Must be the flower. Yeah, it looks about the same color as the flower. Okay, so I'm going to assume that this is the flower, and this is the rest of her clothes, and this is the white part of her clothes. Okay. I will be picking a lot of the same colors. I'll probably use a few different ones. But I do like the idea of using Katya red for most of this. Okay. Right now the stance looks a little bit too butlery for me. I'm gonna have to fix that, but that's not important right now. A lot of it is just how she's holding this. This needs to be closer to her face, I think. You know what, I guess I can fix that now. But anywho, yeah, her skin tone is not on this. How strange. Well, it's okay. It should be pretty easy enough to get. Let's start separating things. So I'm gonna start drawing her head. I don't quite know what color I want the background to be yet, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna leave it gray. And I will worry about it a bit later. Let's start drawing the face here. I want to zoom in enough just to make sure I don't accidentally get, like, red blush from the cheeks or something. This seems like it's pretty reliable. Okay. Let's hide the background for a bit while I start figuring out head shapes and stuff. So, she's got squishy anime head variety, but I think I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to steal the proportions from this artist because I like them. So, we're gonna have... What's a good example here? Someone just kind of looking at us. Yeah, there we go. This one doesn't have a super tilted head. So, just looking at proportions here. Eyes are still about halfway down. Maybe slightly less, but no, I really don't think so. The main difference is just in the nose, right? The nose is longer. And that makes the rest of the face a little bit longer. So that's mostly what I'm gonna do here. And we're gonna have a little bit more nose than what I've been drawing lately. I do like the way that he draws noses, so I'm gonna give it a try. Ah. Man. Noses. My nose is a little stuffy. Alright. Yeah, I like that idea. So, that's what I'm gonna go with. And I think in order to make that happen, I'm thinking very loosely about the angle here. I'm not... You know what? I'm not even gonna draw it yet. I'm gonna draw the facial features first. And then I'll put the head around it. Now, one thing I will still try to do is keep the shape of her eyes pretty dang close. I'm just gonna do it in black for now. No, I want to draw the nose first. Caught myself this time. I have been noticing that when I draw things, I do get things a little bit more accurate when I start with the nose and mouth before I do the eyes. So I do want to do that first. So we're gonna have kind of the nose coming down. And it's gonna kind of come around. I'm gonna keep it simple for now. I think I want it a little more to the side. I want her to be kind of looking over her shoulder a little bit. Kind of starting to turn toward us. Like, oh, did not expect you here. I'm debating, do I want her to show the front side or the back side? Like, I kind of have two options here, so... if I were to do the front side, we'd see like the collar of the dress here. It's not going to have one, but I like pretending like there is because it makes it easy for me to picture. And, you know, then we'd get shapes like this. And if it was going to be the back side, then instead we'd get like an opening in the back here as she kind of starts looking over her shoulder. I drew this more from the front. But now I'm debating with myself on, do I want to do the front or do I want to do the back? Let's get rid of this arm here for now. I'll keep the hand, I suppose. And that would mean that this arm is actually going to be more like this. If I did it from the back. Yeah, you know what? I kind of like it from the back. I think that'll be interesting. And then we get the collar kind of over here instead. And this means I'm going to have to move a lot of stuff, but that's okay. Yeah, I dig it. Let's do it like that. She is indeed looking over her shoulder. Okay. Small smile that looks vaguely suspicious. She's probably happy, but it's probably that happiness probably doesn't actually mean anything good. So I'm gonna make a little bit flatter and a little bit more sharply curved up at the edges there. It makes it a little bit more suspicious. Okay, now I can safely put the eyes on. Fortunately, I have a nice little eye reference right there for me. And I think I want her eyes to be just a little bit narrowed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna point the eyelashes kind of downward. And that's kind of how I'm gonna show that. They'll look better than that when I do it for real. But right now, I just kind of want to leave that as a nice note. Okay, so shape of the eyes in. They're a little bit weird looking right now. That's fine. They always are. At first. Okay. And just because I think it's important, I am actually going to put in the eyes here. I'm going to go ahead and put in that eye color. I don't want her to be looking too strongly up or down. Just kind of to the side, and maybe very slightly down. Like if I had to pick a direction, having her look a little bit down. One, because she's tall, but two, she's plotting. So looking slightly down is good for that. Arrogant plotter, yes. That kind of thing. Alright, let's make her head a little bit less of an egg now. So she just has, yeah, fairly standard anime head there, so I can kind of do what I want. I don't want her head to be too squishy. And it's going to be a little bit longer than usual. Which will hopefully, in the long run, mean that I don't have to correct as many proportions. Yay! Since I already have a habit of making my faces a little bit long. And here, I'm just trying to get everything proportionate relative to itself. So I'm just trying to get the proportions right on the head. I do not care about the body right now. The body always ends up being large compared to my edited head, because I always shrink the head a little bit as I draw it. And then I just make it bigger when I'm done. It's fine. So this is still, you know, early sketch phase. So it's gonna be a bit of a mess and everything's gonna look a bit weird. But that's expected. That is expected at this stage. This is just kind of when I start getting my basic ideas down. I try for a little bit of accuracy. Like, I don't want it to be totally wrong, of course. But it's fine for things to be a little bit disproportionate at this stage. I do still feel like the face is a little bit long, but I think some of that is just the chin is a little bit long. It's a little bit too big. We have a good view of, like, the head looking upward. Because he does tend to draw his girls kind of looking downward slightly. I am realizing. This one's not bad. Okay. This one's still looking downward, but it's okay. Are you looking down? Yeah, you are. Okay. Yeah, they just always wants to tuck their little chins in. Fascinating. You know, I had never noticed that. Let me see if I can find one where the head is kind of tilted up a bit. If I'm gonna do an artist study, I feel like I should do it properly, right? So let me go open the wiki again. And I'll see if one of them kind of has their head tilted upward. But that is fascinating. You know, while playing this, I never really noticed it. Okay, there's one. I never noticed that basically everyone had their head down. That is strange. And there's another one. Yeah, he really likes drawing the head at that angle. Okay, that's cool. I wonder if that's just something... I've been studying a lot on how to draw faster, because that's one of my goals for this year. I want to be able to draw faster. I've been looking into what it takes to do that, and I do think one of them is to pick a couple of angles that you're just really, really good at, or that you like, and draw that angle repeatedly, because then you don't have to think. You don't have to think about what to do for that angle. You just already know. And so I'm kind of wondering if the head kind of tilted down like that is just this artist's default, the comfort zone. It's like, it's clear to me looking at all of them that he can draw it in pretty much any angle. But that's just like his go-to. When in doubt, draw it with the chin vaguely tucked like that. Oh, that is interesting. Okay. Okay, so the one... Given the nature of this game, I would think so, yes. That does seem to track with the nature of the game. Okay, so I'm just gonna go look for the one that is closest to the angle that I'm trying to draw. And I think it's this one. So I'm gonna go save this and pull it up on screen. Give me just a moment here. But yes, hello there, James. Welcome back. Alright, so this one seemed to be the closest to the angle that I'm going for. She is facing the other direction. But I can at least get a general look. I'm pretty sure that they're all drawn by the same artist. I'm not 100% sure, but at the very least, they're all stylistically very, very similar. So I'm just gonna pretend. But yeah, looking at the way this is drawn, we see a little bit more of like the nose here. The shape of the nose is a little bit different, and we see a little bit more chin. So, you know, maybe I didn't really need to move the head down quite as much as I thought I did. Or move it up, rather. Words. And then, since we're seeing her from below, it looks like, at least according to this artist, I should make the top of the nose a little bit smaller and the bottom a little bit bigger. I'm going to just leave it black for now, but I will make it better in a little bit. Well, not a little bit. Later. When it's rendering time. So we get something a little bit more like that. There you go. This is what happens when you look at art really closely. You start noticing things. And this is why I do think that looking very, very closely at art you like is a great way to improve and also to figure out what you like. I did that a long time ago when I realized, and I realized that I really, really like light. I knew that long before I did that analysis, but it just became so immediately obvious to me once I actually started looking at other people's drawings and picking out what I liked about them, that I just really, really like strong light. And so I started drawing it more, and I was happy. I started making really cool things. And while I was doing it somewhat before, the fact that I was now conscious of it, and I was no longer just kind of feeling my way through, but I just understood. I understood what it was that I wanted to do, and what was making me like certain drawings, but maybe not others, and that kind of thing. It just all became easier. So it's one of the many reasons that I just highly recommend going out and studying art you like. So I'm just gotta do some basic fixing of the facial proportions here. Just a little bit. But, you know, I think that looks okay for now. I'll give her hair later. I don't think I want to do hair yet. I kind of want to figure out the rest of the pose. Yeah, let's go do that. Okay. So, we're gonna pretend like arms aren't a thing. Nobody likes arms, especially not me, so I'm gonna worry about it later. Ah. So, she's gonna be turning around and looking out over her shoulder. I have decided I liked that pattern. I thought it looked very nice. So this means that we'll kind of see the chest a little bit, and there we go. And she has... Let's take a look at just her default proportions here. So I'll use my brush to roughly measure the size of her head here. I'm not including the hat or, you know, any tall parts of her hair, which does make it a little bit more challenging, but I think right about here is probably close enough. So there we go. That is one head. Then we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 with heels. It is. It's all great to play to your strengths, and I do think that the big thing is also just, you know, what do you like? What is fun to paint? Because I've seen some very, like, intricate line work and stuff, especially from like ink drawings and stuff like that I really like, but I don't really have any interest in making it, and that's fine. I'll just go appreciate it. Just, you know, tell those artists that they're really cool. And I think that's worth. Okay, so we got 7 heads tall, and when I kind of measured that up, most of that was in her legs. Let me try again. 1, 2, 3. So I'd say her entire upper body is about 3 out of 7 heads, and then we get 4 in the legs. So she is very, very leg heavy. So I don't mind making her torso a little bit short. I kind of have a tendency to either make it really short or really long. So, you know what? This is fine. Oh yeah, and you know, speaking of art that you can kind of enjoy but don't really want to make yourself, when I noticed that I kind of had a habit of making really elongated limbs, I did that for a while. I started looking at Clamp's art style. So that would be like a Code Geass and the like. And they have super elongated proportions. And at some point, I decided, you know, I kind of do like the way it looks, but I don't actually like drawing it very much. You have to do certain things in order to make in order to make that work, and I just didn't like it as much. So, you know, even if you analyze yourself and try to figure all that out, sometimes it just doesn't quite work out. And that's fine. That's why it's science, because you don't know if you're going to be right or not. You try it, see what happens. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, this pattern I'm putting on the back here is, just so I understand how the back is shaped. This will probably not be part of her outfit. I don't want it to really open up in the back there. But it makes it very easy for me to understand. So that's, you know, good for me, and so I'm gonna do that. Okay, and then we get an arm that'll come out this way, and I'll go ahead and kinda start showing that. So this is an arm. This might be the arm that goes up. I don't know yet. It might not. I don't know. But there's gonna be an arm there. Okay, let's start getting into the waist. She is quite skinny. There are noticeable hips, but they're not like super exaggerated. So I want to keep that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm almost making her look too sweet. Needs a little bit more hardcore arrogance. Let's fix that. So I'm gonna tilt her back a little bit more. And I think I want her head tilted a little bit more like that. Yes. I think this will look better once I make her eyes look a little bit more narrowed. I guess I can try to do a little bit. Let's see what happens there. Okay, yeah. I think a lot of this is just going to come down to where... to the eyes. And right now they're not done, so they don't quite have the right feel yet. But I think I can trust it. I think I can trust that I can just make those eyes look like they are plotting against you so hard. So I'm just gonna keep going. Alright, I kind of want one leg kind of going out, and the other one kind of over here. I think that'll look okay. I'll separate them for now, even though she's gonna be wearing a dress on this side. But it'll make my life a little easier in the long run because I plan to draw the same character in a suit on this side instead of a dress. I couldn't decide if I wanted to draw her in a suit or in a dress, so I was like, let's do both. Because that's how I roll. And thus having a clear leg pose will probably help me there. Because I plan to just duplicate my basic sketch here and then move it over to the other side. I will let them be mirrors of each other. Okay. So let's see here. I think that's pretty good. I mean, legs are thick and unfinished, but that's fine. Let's work out where the thighs are going to kind of come out. There, I think one kind of comes out here. That'll be this one. That's the way I have it drawn, I think. Yeah. I just want to get the general direction of this one a little bit. And then over here. And I don't want it to be strong. Right now this is a little bit strong. So it's supposed to be a very casual pose. Very, very casual. She's just kind of turning. This knee should be lower. Which means this should also be lower. There we go. And I don't think we actually see the feet. I am fine with that. We are going to censor the feet here, so there we go. Right now she looks a little bit like she's fallen over, so I should fix that. The balance is a little bit off here. But something like that. I think something like that could work. Let me put the background on and kind of see how things are going. Oh, did I accidentally do something on a bad layer? I did. Oh, that's unfortunate. I can fix it. We'll just connect this just a little bit better than it is, but it's gonna look messed up now. That's unfortunate. I messed it up. That's okay. I can fix it later. Okay, let's make her a little bit bigger here. There we go. Something like that pose-wise. She's still looking a little bit too nice. Maybe I do want to do it from the front instead. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate the layer real quick and modify it. I'm not sure if that's the way I want to go, so let's try the other way. Where we have it like that, and that would mean that. So this is again, the collar of the dress is not going to be a V-neck, but that's fine. So the arm will be here, but this time it is behind the chest, and that will be kind of like this. We'll have an arm here, you know, probably coming out like that, and that's fine for now. But otherwise, about the same. This is why I was willing to try it, because I knew it would be fast. Man, they just both read so differently, and I don't know which one I like better. But I kind of have to know before I can really go and start drawing clothes on her. Oh, that's a tough choice. I might have to kind of save that for next time. But you know, that's okay, because I can start kind of plopping hair on there. I can kind of refine the face a little bit. And then I can think really hard about what I want to do here. What story do I want to tell? And if I design the dress a little bit more in my head, I can kind of decide, do I want to show more of the front or more of the back? Ooh, it's such a tough choice. So, I guess I can think about the dress for a little bit here. I have a tiny little doodle here in that I want it to be kind of a little mermaid tail silhouette there, but these kinds of dresses can look gorgeous from both the front and the back. So, like, what do? And I mentioned that her style does not seem like one that would show a lot of skin. So there's going to be a lot of kind of translucent fabric and definitely gloves and that kind of thing. And oh man, it's a tough choice. So let's do some doodling then. So if I were to doodle this, I'll still just use black for the body, but kind of what I was having in mind. I guess I shouldn't actually use black for the body. Okay. And a neck. And kind of what I had in mind. I'll just use Katya black for now. Was it kind of goes up her neck, and here is a little translucent. So if I were to erase a bit, you know, we'd get something like that. And then it kind of comes down and into the shoulders, and then around the middle here, around her chest is going to be a black part, and down into the sleeves will be a black part, and again, this will be a little bit more translucent. So let's see, for something like that, maybe I should color it with skin tone instead. And this is all just basic ideas for now. And then gloves on the hand. I'll just make them circles for now. And then where things get nice, we wrap around with the red part. Oh, by the way, this is going to be sparkly because glitter makes everything better. So this is kind of the design I'm picturing in my head currently. This will wrap around, wrap all the way around, and kind of go off behind her. And then it'll get really tight kind of around the knees and a fan out like that. And so we're going to get this kind of shape, except I don't want it to just be that. It's going to be curved like this. And I'll probably try some variations. This is just what's in my head for the moment. And then it'll come out this way. This part will be black and frilly with some red parts into it. And then over on this side, still frilly, of course. And we'll get some sparkly black layers in there, but mostly red. And it's gonna kind of layer out like that. And we'll get something like this. Yeah. And then down the middle here, we're gonna have some gold buttons. And there'll be probably some back there too, and gold trim going around. It's still very much inspired by her character design, of course. I still want to keep some of that flavor in it. I don't want to completely change things. And it'll all be, you know, very fancy and full of very fancy patterns, and it'll be fantastic. So this is currently what I'm picturing in my head, and gold trim on the red parts here. So something like that is currently what I'm picturing in my head. We'll keep the doodle up. And for the dress side, I did plan to have her hair up. So I'll draw it in the black, I guess, just because it's easier to see. So no, it can't be parted in the middle. I want it to be parted like her hair is. There we go. Off on the side like that. And then I'll draw it from the back. So we'll just take a little head shape here, and it's all gonna kind of come together in the back, and the little kind of rose shape bun she has there is gonna be like this. So this will be the rose shaped kind of bun. I'll even make it a little bit petally. And it'll all be tied together, and there will be little braids coming out. This is incidentally why I want to make sure we see part of the back of her head, because I think this hairstyle is really pretty, and this is what was sitting in my head, and I want to make sure I'm able to draw it. And then those are going to be some kind of, like, nice gold hairpin coming out or something. So, you know, something like that. This is all very rough, but hopefully this makes the vision kind of a little bit more visible. And I also would like it to have a little bit of a cape. This will be translucent. And it's going to kind of cover parts of things here. I don't know yet, but I like the idea of her having a little bit of a kind of sheer cape thing going on. So this is where... Okay, so I've taken a look and kind of put down what's in my head. I want to do something a little bit more than this, I think. I'd like it to be a little bit more top-heavy. Right now, it's all very bottom-heavy. Most of the decoration is in this. And while this is an alternate outfit that I'm doing for fun, I'm still drawing a VTuber. And when drawing a VTuber, I think it is for the best to keep most of the detail in the top half. Bust up, basically. And I don't care if it's a fan outfit. I don't care. It's still a VTuber, and I want to do it right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and of course, she's got to have her little shoulder flower somewhere in there. I haven't decided if that's going to go in her hair or not. It might. I think it would look very nice in her hair. And then maybe we'll have some thorny stuff wrapping around her neck or something. I could see that being pretty stylish. But it'll be there. Look, you can't go to the Masquerade ball without your hallucinogens, okay? That defeats the purpose. Okay. Anywho, let's give her some hair. Because whether I decide to draw her from the front or the back, because man, that is a tough choice. What am I even supposed to do? How do you decide this? It might also come down to the suit. Because I do plan to draw her in a suit on this side. I couldn't decide if I wanted her in a dress or a suit, and I refused to decide. I'm just gonna do both. I am just going to do both. But you can still put cool patterns on the back of suits if you want. Choices are hard. Yeah, I'm gonna sleep on that choice. Let's draw some hair. So I'm gonna hide the background again. It just makes it a little easier to see. And I mean, I've already told you my plans here. So I'll start getting that. And fortunately, I like the head at this angle, regardless of front or back. How does her hair work again? Okay. So this will be happening kind of like this either way. And then we'll see a bit of the kind of flower bun thing I want going on here. And unfortunately, this means I'm going to have to draw ears, but you know what? I'll deal with it. Okay, and We'll draw that little black part that goes over there. Here, and then this will have a mix of color. So we'll have something kind of like that. I'm not going to be able to hide anything. Right now, she looks maybe a little bit too old lady. I think that's a little bit of a design problem. So let's put in some loose hair coming out the side here. And a little bit over here too. Yeah, there we go. That looks a little more elegant. But it's something like that. And I know one arm is going to be coming up and holding a mask there. I haven't designed the mask in my head yet. But it should be pretty nice. I think I'll do that a little bit later too. I don't know, this looks a little bit more modest and elegant. I think I might do it from the front. I was initially planning back, which is why I drew it like that first. But I think I might do it this way. It's like the upside I'm thinking of this way is that with the background here, I could have this arm be doing something with the stuff in the background here. Whereas this one holds the mask. But with this one, I could also potentially have this one maybe holding a drink or something. Whereas, okay, let's see here. I gotta make this decision eventually. Let's give myself as much information as is appropriate to help me do that. We're gonna be holding the mask near her face. Hand is gonna be doing something kind of like this. And then there's gonna be, you know, the mask in her hand. And it'll look something like that. And right now, everything looks very strange, but that's fine. And if I did it this way, then this time the hand would kind of come out this way. I still want it to be near her face. So we get that there, and then this one, it could either kind of come down to her side, or it could, I don't know, be playing with a rose on the back there. So I could kind of go either way there. I think the method of having her hold something on the other one makes sense here. Because I don't think it makes sense for her to be playing with the roses in the background there. I think I'm still leaning forward, but I will think on it just a little bit more here. So let's see. I don't really want to start drawing the dress too strongly until I make that decision. So what else do I feel like I kind of need to figure out? I don't think her presence is very strong yet, but that's just because I don't have the lovely red dress on there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the colors for everything else very muted, and then the red of the dress be very bright. So I do need that in there before I can really do that. I guess I can try to put a little bit in. Because I know that at least around the waist here, either way, it'll all be very red. And it'll kind of be strong around her legs. And her legs are no different on each side. And that already kind of brings her presence out a little bit. So yeah, indeed, I do think That's the reason she feels a little bit weak right now, and why everything feels a little bit weak right now is just because I haven't picked out the colors properly. So, I'm not gonna worry about it. Is there anything else that I can try before, in order to help me decide? Do I want the front or the back? Or do I want her facing forward or facing, you know, or have her... Do I want the back to show? Yes, no. That's the best way to... No, I think this is just something I'm gonna be thinking about, kind of meditating on. I think front might be the way I go here. I also think it's very possible to have this arm. It could be upholding something, or I could even just have it kind of just hanging down. I actually think that's okay. Choices are hard. Okay. Let's go look to general inspiration. Okay. So, I don't want it to necessarily be inviting. We're not inviting anyone here. We're looking ominous. These ones are both a little bit more ominous. Ooh, actually, that's a point. I could have it hanging down there, or we could have it come up and kind of, touching her face. Yeah, that's kind of plotty. I could see that being pretty good, too. Just realizing it from there. And, you know, props are always fantastic, of course. Okay. I think the rest of the overall pose is fine. I think I like the way the legs are positioned and everything. Is she taking up enough space? Because I don't really care about the background that much for this one. I mean, if I was not showing off an outfit, the way I do it is I'd probably actually have her positioned a little bit more like this. But I want to see a little bit more of the dress. So maybe what I should do, maybe I do have the drawing itself a little bit too big. Okay, I'm gonna... I wish to try something. I don't want the window to go off the page. I don't. But perhaps I can at least... I want to lose my little doodle here, so I'll bring it on over. But perhaps I can at least make her take up just a little bit more space here. And kind of crop things right about there. I'll have to fix the borders and stuff, but let's take a look. I just want to increase her presence a little bit. And I feel like she is perhaps not feeling like the main character yet. Yeah, I think I prefer it with a little bit less space. Okay, in that case, I'll go ahead and fix my borders and stuff, and I'm going to want to fix everything on the other side as well. Go ahead and just clear everything that's bleeding onto the other side. And because I cropped it, I think if I duplicate this, mirror it over, and then lop it, next to this, it should give me a good idea of where I should crop things on this side to make it a little bit more symmetrical, or... No, I think I can do this more easily. Okay, I'm gonna make a new layer. And we're gonna bust out some hot pink. It's gonna be great. Select inside. Fill with pink. Where's my fill? There it is. And then I just move it over. Okay. I don't really care about the height. The height didn't change. But I do want to make sure it is, like, right up next to that border there. As close as I can get it. There we go. And now I know roughly where to crop. In order to keep things the same size. I wish I could zoom in after, but this should be okay. I guess I'll save my doodle first. Well, we'll save all the doodles. It'd be unfortunate to kill them, you know? There we go. Saved. Okay, is that good? Yep, that looks right on the edge, so there we go. Now they should be the same size. Let me check my work. Looks good to me. Nice. Okay, so now that I got that back, let's go ahead and put the borders back in. I don't remember how big I made this. It should still be there, fortunately. 100. Okay. There. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. Got a little bit more of a vertical composition now. It took me a hot minute in order to fix that, but I do think I like this better. And it is important to me that they be symmetrical, because I only want to draw it once. I do not want to have to draw this twice. That sounds like suffering. No, I shouldn't say that. It doesn't sound like suffering, but it kinda defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do, so. I still want her to be a little bit bigger on the screen, I think. I'm just trying to find the balance between showing off the design and making a nice illustration. Because I am very much trying to make an illustration, not a design sheet. This is just... I want to make it nice, but I also want it to be clear. I want the outfit to be clear. And maybe it makes more sense for it to be full body then, but, you know, I don't want it to be. It sounds strange given that I am... That I am also trying to do a bunch of stuff with the design, but I don't know. It's just what feels right. So I'm gonna roll with it. You know, maybe someday I'll draw one of these nice vignettes. Where those are basically always full body, and that sounds pretty fun. I might do one of those someday. I swear, the art is like the only good thing that's come out of gacha games. Alright. Yeah, I remember why I had it a little bit wider now, because... the window. I don't know if I want it to be that big. Okay, but this feels fine. I can make it a little slimmer. Cool. All right. Oh, the joy of trying to figure out compositions when I can't draw the clothes. Ah! I just wanted Night to really think about this, because this is a very important decision of whether I draw from the front or from the back. Very important. I'm gonna get rid of this layer for now. I'll figure out the rest of the pose then. Normally this is the time I'd use to figure that out, but no, there are some times when just drawing the thing repeatedly does not actually help. And you just kind of have to sit on it for a little bit. And it's like, I could force myself to make a decision now, but I'm not convinced that it would help me make the right one here. So I think I just need to sit with it a little. I feel like this one, if I'm just thinking in abstract terms, I'm still going to use you guys as my rubber ducky because it's very useful. The rubber ducky style of programming, where when you're stuck and you just cannot figure out a bug, you try to explain your code to a rubber ducky. It can be any inanimate object, of course, but the example uses a rubber ducky, and it'll fix all your problems. You just try to explain your code to something, and you'll figure out the problem. So I'm trying to do the same thing with art here. I have been finding it very effective. So anyway, I do feel like this one feels more like an encounter. Like maybe she was just looking out the window, and then she notices someone coming up behind her, and she looks over and is like, oh, hello there. Didn't expect you here. When, you know, she totally did. Whereas, this one is more planned. Like, she wasn't looking out the window. She was there, waiting. And I'm not sure which is better. That's why I need to think about it. Because it's not a matter of looks or appearance. It's a matter of the story. And that's not something that just comes together by derping around. And I do think that some of it I could probably narrow down via design. Is there going to be more exciting stuff on the back or the front? That is a way to do it, if I was going to think about it in terms of art or composition. But frankly, I think I can make it work with either. All I have to do is if I do it from the back, I put more patterns on the back, and if I'm going to do it from the front, I put more patterns on the front. Easy. I'm designing something for an illustration, not for like any other purpose. I make that decision based on what will make the illustration look better. So that's not something I have to worry about. And for this kind of dress, it makes sense for there to be just as much importance on the front as there is the back, and vice versa. That's pretty normal for these kinds of fancy ball gowns. So all that makes sense. So I do think it comes down to, do I want the encounter to feel a little bit more planned? Do I want to make it look like she was waiting, knowing that you'd come by? Or do I want to make it look a little more unexpected, but have a kind of glint in her eye that makes it seem like, yes, I knew you were going to come, I'm just pretending. And that's tough. That's not easy to decide. So that's why I want to sleep on it. Maybe the answer will come to me in a dream, or, you know, maybe I'll just know the answer after I just think about it enough. I'll just run it through my brain a little bit. Regardless, I don't want her to look inviting. Like when I was drawing Leia in the previous one, I wanted her to look inviting. I want her to look vaguely threatening. No overt threats. Just a little bit scary. It's like something is wrong. The way she's looking at you is wrong. Something is up. That kind of thing. I think that is what suits her best. And I just need to decide which of these does that better. Choices are hard, man. And I do unironically think that sometimes the answer is just to walk away for a little while. Go live life. The answer will come to you. been feeling that hard with my writing in general, and considering that this is, the storytelling part of the illustration, I'm not surprised that I feel like they're somewhat adjacent. I didn't write it all this week. I was sleepy, so I'm a little bit sad about that. It's okay. Well, I'll get back to it. Someday that'll be written. I believe in myself. And you know what? I think I'll be able to make this decision. I believe in myself too, so that I'll have that ready for Monday. That's gonna be like my top priority in figuring it out. I still got like 20 minutes left. So I got a marshmallow question. I haven't answered this one. I opted not to really talk about the other one I got on stream. Somebody asked me, what problems do you think are plaguing the art community? And I frankly, I'm just not part of the art community right now. I don't know where to find them. I don't know how to use Twitter. Occasionally I see people talking about stuff, but I'm just like, okay, I have absolutely nothing to say to this, so, I won't. I don't really know how to use Discord either. Only time I've used Discord is, one, talking to friends, two, joining small role-playing communities. On forums. Forums, I understand. They're on forums. Then you just use the Discord to, talk to people and figure out what to write together and stuff. Blah. So, yeah, no idea. Anyway, the next question I got here, this one is considerably less negative to be responding to on stream, so I'll go ahead and do that. What does VTubing mean to me? It's a performance art. You go out, you got a sweet puppet, and you go out on the internet, and you do your little show, and people can come and watch if they want. And some people, I mean, I really don't, but some people, they'll have a hat out there for tips, and you can tip them if you like their show and want them to keep doing it. And then there's that's basically the gist of it. That's it at the very high level. Then going a step down, there's certain cultural implications. Because, yeah, I guess I'll get into it. Do I think the burnt peanut is a VTuber? No. No. I don't. Because VTubing, in maybe its purest sense, is just having a digital avatar for streaming instead of, using your face. But I don't actually think that's true. Because I think when somebody says, I watch VTubers, the image that comes in your head is not the burnt peanut. It is anime girls on the internet. Specifically girls. There are male VTubers, of course. I'm actually not inclined to think that they're not VTubers, unlike the burnt peanut. But generally, when somebody says that they watch VTubers, you would think that they watch anime girls on the internet. And then there's a couple of, a few other traditions with that. They're gonna have the anime avatar. That, they're gonna have a certain commentary style, although, that's very broad. And there's probably gonna be some adjacency with Japanese idol culture. And there's, a degree of VTuber culture out there that differentiates them from flesh streaming. And it's contentious enough that people have actually said that they don't think people that stream on Twitch should be counted as VTubers. They should be V-Twitchers or something. Just because the culture on Twitch is a little bit different from what you'd expect from, HoloLive adjacent stuff and that kind of thing. And I'm pretty okay with either making the distinction or not. I don't really care. But I do think that having the anime avatar is actually important, or at least a cartoon avatar with big eyes. But everything else is a lot more broad. And then, there's the layer underneath it of what do I want to do specifically? And I don't know. I'm still kind of figuring that out, so I'm sorry I can't give a good answer there. But I can tell you some directions that I'm at least considering in my head. Today was an experiment in one of those directions of doing a little bit more educational stuff. So at the very start of stream here, I went through and talked about what I like about all these pictures and what I wanted to study from them. And I'm not going for exactly the same style, but I will be referencing them often in order to kind of figuring out some shading style that I might like and some other things. I'm referencing less for backgrounds and more for character specifically. The background I'm just putting there because I like to. And because I like strong lighting, so I want a nice strong light behind her and stuff like that. But I plan to keep it very simple. And I'm not going to go as hard as this artist does on his backgrounds because, you know, they are fantastic. But I just want to focus on the character specifically. And so I spent a lot of time talking about that, what I plan to do, what I liked about the illustrations, how I study illustrations that I like, how I analyze them and determine things I like, what jumps out at me, and stuff like that. So I did a lot of that. So I might do some of the more educational side. That was a lot of what I did here. But I also really, really miss some theatrical aspects of my life because since I've been... I largely left the role-playing community I was in, and that kind of contained my theater kid energy, and now it's gone, and I miss it. So I'd like to do some kind of more performance-based stuff as well, once I figure out how. And I have some ideas. I like the idea of kind of doing a stream that's choose-your-own-adventure adjacent. I hesitate to call it role-playing adjacent because that kind of implies that chat would be playing their own characters, and I don't want to go that hard. And I'm hesitant to do proper role-playing games with other VTubers because VTubers are notoriously flaky, and being flaky is what made me leave my previous role-playing community, and I'm still mad about it. So I think if VTubers started flaking on me, I'd get mad. So I'm just gonna stay out of that for now. Maybe there will come a day where I feel comfortable doing that. But if people are flaking out of the content I make, I'm gonna be angry. And I'd rather spare the world from an angry Planckera. But a choose-your-own-adventure story where I narrate that and kind of guide you guys through it and give you guys responses to things that you'd like to do. That might be fun. I don't have the community for it yet. I don't have sufficient participation that I feel like I could just start a stream and there'd be enough people here participating to make it interesting. I love the people that come and chat. I love my lurkers. Don't feel like you're obligated to come and chat if you just kind of want to listen while you're doing something else. I am okay with being used for co-working, for having something in the background while you clean, or just having something that you might think is kind of interesting while you're going out and doing other things. That's fine. I don't say this to make you guys feel bad. No one should feel bad for lurking. Just that I do need to be able to trust that I would get sufficient participation before I can do things like that. So that'll be something for, you know, when I have the higher CCV and these things start coming together. So that's one thought. I have also kind of toyed with the idea of reading some books or something. I know one thing I want to start doing for the games that I play more is I want to kind of voice act the lines that the characters are saying. I did a bit of that in Copy Kitty, and that was fantastic. I've just been somewhat anxious about doing it, and it kind of makes my throat seize up, so I haven't really been able to do it. But, you know, during Copy Kitty, I was just not caring about anything there, so I was able to do it. And I do hope that someday will let me embrace my inner cringe, and then I can go do more things and without just freaking the fuck out. That sounds great. I'm working on it. So, oh, I just unplugged my headphones, whatever. Is my microphone picking it up? I don't think it is, so I'm just gonna leave it. It's fine. Let me go put my tablet away. I guess I'll plug my headphones in at the same time. But I can keep talking. So those are some things there, and... this is exactly why the past couple of streams I've been like, I really hate the advice that you should just be yourself and do what you want, because what is that? Who am I? What am I doing? I don't know. I'm just here on the internet and I'm trying to draw things. And I'm maybe a little bit scared about doing it. How have I been doing this for a year and a half? I don't know. But I'm still kind of playing with ideas and figuring it out. But what I can tell you right now for sure, creativity is awesome, and I think everyone should do it. So if I could encourage that, I think that's great. So that would be the side of me that wants to go into educational stuff and more drawing things and talking about drawing things and talking about existential dread and those kinds of things. And psychology and how to stop worrying and enjoy doing stuff. And maybe someday I'll take my own advice when I talk about those things. Maybe someday. Maybe sometimes I'm just talking about things because I'm just like, dude, go do that. Do it! And I'm talking to myself. Yes. And then the other end wants to talk about fiction and how stories work and ideas that I think are interesting. And I want to go out and play characters and talk about ideas in a fictional sense because it's so much easier. Because, like, if I talk about elves hating humans, people don't immediately think the same way as racial conflicts in the real world. Uncomfortable to the point that I'm not even going to say the words. I'm just going to use it as an example. Like, it's easy. It's easy. Admittedly, I don't have much interest in talking about racism, but it's like the first thing that came to mind, so there you go. And just like, you know, Lord of the Rings was a result of what the author felt during the World War, how we use stories and books to talk about things that we can't. It lets us say the words we are not allowed to say. It lets us talk about the ideas that would be too uncomfortable or so contentious that nobody would actually hear what you're trying to say without fiction as a shield. So, unironically, I do think that sometimes when you're playing a character, you can be more true to yourself than when you're just being yourself. It sounds weird, but I think it's true. And, you know, I'd like to do some of those things. So, this is way too long to put in a marshmallow, which is why I'm doing here. But I'll probably respond to it, like, right after stream here in a kind of a shorthand way. But there you go. Those are some of the things I want to do. I'm not really into cute girls doing cute things, which makes me wonder why I want to be a VTuber sometimes. But I am into portraying characters and saying stuff on the internet and also drawing stuff on the internet and making stuff on the internet and talking about games on the internet. The internet is just fantastic. So that's why I'm a VTuber. I hope that answers your question, Marshmallow Guy. And there we go. I guess this is where I will stop for today. So, thank you all for coming. And I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. Even if you don't know what you want to do yet, you know, just keep doing things. You'll figure it out. As long as you don't stop. As long as you keep feeling your way through that a forest of confusion, you know, eventually you'll find the other side and it'll be fantastic. So I'll see you all tomorrow.